Sponsored by Andrea Mason, Press Play, Plan Life According to You, LLC. Take care of your mental health. Find inner peace by rediscovering and loving you for who you truly are. Take advantage of this exclusive offer and choose to press play today. Thank you.
Everywhere I go, I see his face. I just really miss him.
What's up, everybody? How y'all doing? This is the host of the Buzzing With Marlowe podcast, and I am yours truly, Warren Marlowe. And if you are new to the channel, make sure you like, share, most importantly, subscribe. Hit that notification bell right there to stay in contact with all our platforms. Just to name a few, guys, we are currently on Instagram. We are on X. We are on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Podbean, Podchaser, Podvines, all audio platforms as well. All Apple platforms. Let's make sure we get that across. And of course, we want to give a major shout out to our number one platform that we are on. We are in the top 25 list, and that's on Good Pods, guys. Shout out to them for being number 2 top sports podcast, which only did like maybe 2 episodes fully covering sports. So thank y'all for that. Pro wrestling, obviously, I think number 3. We all know the reason, possibly from that one. But of course, overall podcast number 25 in the top 100. Super amazing. Great accomplishments, what we keep doing each and every time. And I want to thank all of y'all. But also, guys, I'll make an announcement. We are officially on Threads. Yes. If you're on IG, you know that they have this new thing called Threads. Somebody introduced it to me, and I guess we decided we were going to join in on it. I did it just for my character at first, and then we're like, hey, what the heck? Let's put the podcast on it, and it's been doing pretty impressive stuff. So, a lot of people have been requesting for some Buzzing with gaming content. Now that my son is home, I've been letting him play with it a lot more than me being on it. So I know a lot of people have been asking about that. We're going to get him back on it. He's been working on playing with the stream and stuff like that. So he's really been the thing helping me because I haven't been recording in a while. So him getting to play on this YouTube thing, that's something that he always enjoys. So I want to thank everybody that joins those streams and is real nice to him and stuff like that. That really means a lot to me. I know a lot of people have been asking where have I been, stuff like that. We've been busy. I'm not even going to sit here and sugarcoat it. We have been insanely busy for a while, but we are here. It is time. I'm looking forward to today, man. If y'all remember a former guest we had, I'm talking about from the Engineered Society Project, Kris Keyes. Yes, I've been having requests. We have been in contact with him, and we got him back. And he is not alone today. But guys, before we get to that, I know the excitement is there, but before we get to that, I want to also talk about our lovely sponsors that we have for this podcast. I've been a little down. It's a little late, but guess what? I got me some of that jitterless energy. And if you know what I mean, you know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about Dubby. Yes. Go to dubby.gg. Get you some of that awesome jitterless energy. You see the selection. There's countless flavors, man. Highly recommend these things. If you are sensitive to caffeine, stuff like that, this can be your answer. We talk about it all the time. It's cheaper than a can. You know how the world is now. Energy drinks are out of this world. And also, you want to know what you put in your body. Dubby has got it all covered. Ingredients on the side tells you everything what you need to go. And if you're unsure of the flavor, you can get a sample pack. It gives you a shaker bottle and 3 flavors for each serving. All you type in the promo code BUZZ20 with the capital B and get 10% off of your purchase. That's right. Shout out to Debbie, always giving Buzzing with Marlowe that jittlerless energy. All right, guys. Also, you saw from the opening intro, I want to give a major shout out to our major sponsor, Andrea Mason. Plan life accordingly. She now just started her podcast as well. She's in there in the realms as well. I want to give her a major shout out just for everything that she does for this show, the contributions, everything, man. Especially shout out to all y'all. I know I haven't been here in a while, and man, shout out to all the people live currently right now, man, on the X, on YouTube, and of course we're on Facebook. That's right. And we got like 3 or 4 on Twitch, so we're starting having some people coming in. And I'm kind of shocked how kind of late it is. But, hey, I'm super excited about this. But, guys, we're not going to waste no more time. So, guys, like I said before, we got Kris Keyes from the Engineered Society Project. He is here, and he is not alone. And, guys, we will find out in 3, 2, 1. After our commercial break. Yes, I know, I'm sorry. But after, we will be back, and it's going to be time to go, because now we not just got one band, we got 2, we got 3. Man, who knows what else is going to pop up. But guys, stay tuned. After this break, we will be back with Kris Keyes and all our extra guests that are going to be here as well. So y'all stay tuned. Don't go away. Here we come.
That's it, buddy. You're out of here.
All right, guys, I am here. I am Jordan. One of the guys has been requested a very big amount. Guys, I'm joined with Kris Keyes from Engineer Society Project. What is up, buddy?
How are you, Warren? American Prodigy. How you doing, baby?
Hey, man, it's been a week, but we are here. I'm excited, man. How have you been? Y'all just had an album out not even a month ago. Like, how's everything been?
Yeah, we just got back from Hollywood. We played the Viper Room, and we're looking forward to coming to our hometown Houston, Texas. And if you see right behind me, we have on the show with us the guitar player from Save Your Skin, and I believe that, and we have the drummer from Scroll Keeper. And I want to that we're playing at the Black Magic Social Club July 5th.
And that's right, man. And as well, they are here. Spike, the percussionist from Save Your Skin, and Al from Scroll Keeper. How y'all doing, man?
Doing great. How are you guys?
Real cool, man.
Hey,
Doing good, guys. Thanks for having us.
Yeah,
No
thanks for
problem,
having us on your show.
No problem, man. No problem. I can tell how busy you are just for that awesome studio. I mean, just that thing. So I can tell you're constantly that's basically like your room for sure, that you're there probably about 90% of the day. Is that am I wrong?
Yeah, I'm here all the time making noise, you know.
Hey, I love it. I love it. So where currently y'all guys at right now?
Texas.
Yeah.
Texas.
Houston.
All right.
Houston as well, yeah.
Houston, Texas, both of us. Yeah.
Okay. And Kris, you're still in Texas too, right?
I go back and forth. I'm actually in the middle of producing a movie called Dark Alien Visions, and I just had a really good, a really cool announcement today. Wolverine from the UFC is going to help me choreograph some fight scenes in Las Vegas. I'm playing in Las Vegas with Scum Love and LA Story July 20th, and I'm also going to be choreographing and starring in some fight scenes with Wolverine from the UFC.
Hey, man, that's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome. And like you just said, you're going to be in a movie and stuff like that, man. So, man, you've been making some moves. Like, I remember last time we talked, you just sent me a thing about the song that you were making about regarding a song that you made called Undertaker. And I gotta say, man, it was very catchy. It was very good and stuff like that. So hearing you doing more, making movies and stuff like that now, like, how's that transition to stuff like that been?
I tell you the truth, though, this podcast is about what I'm really about. Because to me, if I can get I used to do movies. I actually used to choreograph movies. I used to do when I lived in San Diego. But I'm more into my music, man, and that's really the purpose of coming up here with you. I'm actually meeting these guys for the first time. I'm meeting the players of Save Your Skin and Scroll Keeper, and right behind me, the Filthy Dead and Frankenchrist are two other bands that are playing with us on the bill. But we're going around, like I said, we just played Hollywood, and I really think I'm working with a band back on the East Coast, and we're making this song called Metal Bands Unite. And I think right now, to me, more importantly than movies, even though I'm going to tell you about the movie, it's about bands getting together and supporting each other and feeling that connection together, because I think that's what we need in the world. You know, we're in a world full of war. You know, I don't know if you guys watched that the thing between Trump and Biden, but it looked like a big joke to me. And really, right now, the unity of our music to me is really important. So I'm actually just meeting these guys for the first time. I've talked to them on Messenger, but I'm interested in what's going on with them because I'm brand new to Texas, and I want to hear what's going on in the scene. And I know they've played the Black Magic Social Club before, but I want to hear about the club. And I'm looking to network, me personally, I'm looking to network with other bands and make that connection and that unity.
Hey, man, that's something that I've known since I've known you, is like you've been wanting to help the next person. And like you said from the beginning, man, you're not just out there for you or just your band. Of course, you want to grow and excel and do things with your music, but you're also wanting to help the next person, help those next up and coming. So like you just said, you're just meeting these guys. So, I mean, this has got to be an introduction that you always got to remember, just sitting on the camera, usually you're always on an email standpoint, you don't know how that always goes, but to see stuff like that. So let's go with you, Spike. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your band and stuff like that, how you got in it and all that. The floor is yours, man.
Sure. Well, let's see. I'm a classically trained percussionist that obviously loves noise gear. So I play any instrument you hit and several that you don't. The bands that I actually am kind of a walking music store. I play every style of music except for country. I'm literally racist toward country. I don't like it, not at all. Period. Zero. No, you don't get a pass. But anything else goes. So, anything from jazz and blues to fusion to someone taking an AM radio and throwing it into a meat grinder. Right up my alley. Bands like White House, Merzbow.
No Johnny Cash, man.
Yeah, the big Jesus. I love the Jesus Lizard bands like that. The Swans, Sun, of course. But with Savior Skin, this band kind of came about. The founder of the band, actually, Mark Somnus, he actually had put out word looking for a drummer, but and this is kind of one of the reasons why I get the phone call for projects like this is I kind of came up playing and working in studios and stuff, but I was the guy that loves to play with electronics. In fact, a lot of times I prefer to play with electronics than humans. So click tracks and a bunch of bunch of crazy noise going on. All that is right in my wheelhouse. So he got sent my way by some mutual friends, and it was kind of a match made in hell. Savior Skin is kind of like Sisters of Mercy meets Godflesh kind of thing, and so there's a lot of electronics. I'm playing to click tracks. You got to be able to play with the machines because they're not going to make a mistake. Only you are. So, I try not to make too many mistakes. But, that's kind of where I'm at and where things are going. And I have several other projects I do as well. Like I host the noise shows here in Houston called An Exchange of Noise at a record store called Sound Exchange. And it's basically experimental music, somebody with a couple of rocks and a microphone doing feedback through an amp. Sure. Anything goes for the most part. So, that's kind of my, where I'm at.
I love that introduction. That was great. I'm racist to country music. That has got to be on a t-shirt. I love that.
But I like Johnny Cash. Come on, man. You got to like Johnny Cash.
Nope. No one.
Man. We also
but he killed a man just to watch him die, man.
Yeah, somebody should have killed them first.
Well, we all know Spike will not be on any CMAs anytime soon.
Man, actually, I had a country song and I thought you would be perfect on it.
He was about to say it. Right?
And I'm not kidding.
After this interview. Hey, also, guys, we got Al from Scroll Keeper, the guitarist from that band as well, man. How are you doing, man?
Doing good, man. It's like, before I forget this, Kris mentioned that we need to do Metal Bands Unite, but that's not legit until you say it properly. Metal Bands Unite!
That's the only way I know how Kris Keyes gets that message across, man. Nobody.
Yeah, sorry, my falsetto is not too good. I'm a guitar player after all. So I'm the guitarist for Scroll Keeper, and at the moment, and for 6 years now, the sole guitarist. We've been around since 2016. Just got signed to a German label, ZYX Records, for our last release, which was in October last year. So before that, we were actually on a Brazilian label for a previous release, Alto da Fé, which is in 2020. For some reason, American labels don't like us, which I'm not too sad about that, because I think, the future for this kind of music might not be the United States anyway, or at least it's much bigger up in other parts of the world. We are, I guess, what you would say, a traditional heavy metal band with a little bit of leanings more towards speed metal and a bit of a thrash metal influences. And that's about it, man. We've been around for a while. All of us have been in other bands before. We're kind of long time scene veterans. and we've kind of known each other for a while. I've actually known Tim, Chris's bass player, for, I don't know, it's been 2016, 2018, somewhere thereabouts. And I'm not even sure, Chris, I might even met you because you guys came to one of our shows, I think in 2018 at 19th Hole.
Yeah,
I know Tim was there for sure. I'm not sure if you were there with him.
I might have been.
I think you were. I think we met each other, but it's been quite a long time ago.
2018, no, I wasn't there.
Or 19, maybe, somewhere thereabouts. I know Tim just came back from LA at that point, and
Right.
you guys had just played the what was that one? The Lemmy Room.
I think that that was when Tim Ripper Owens was in the
Oh, might have been that. Yeah, might have been that.
I love it. Welcome.
Warren, thanks for having me, man. I wish I knew more about wrestling. The only thing I can tell you is I have a friend. His son is, I think, number 2 regional at this point. He's doing really good. That's about all I know about wrestling at this
Hey,
point.
man. Hey.
I know it's not an easy sport.
Oh man, that might be the reason why I'm messing up the time limits and stuff too. So we don't want to play full on it. But
I did boxing in high school for 2 years, so I kind of can relate. I got out of boxing when I started suffering in math from getting my head banged up a little too many times.
Don't ask my wife. She'll probably tell you it's all my reasons. I love it, man.
You must have a lot of injuries from the sport, huh?
Oh yeah, I'm currently got one right now, man. My shoulder has been banged up a little bit. Funny thing is though, it happened at the gym. Like I was just doing a normal workout, and then I felt a pop in my shoulder. I was like, huh. And I was like, kind of easing off. I'm like, all right, maybe it was just maybe it was a little bit too rough on the weight standpoint. And then I got home, like, more and more, and I'm just like, this ain't normal. I mean, it still have like that little pain sensitive. Like I have a high pain tolerance. That's something I will say. But for me to go, that does kind of feel a little different. It kind of makes me a little worried at the same time. But I mean, luckily I can move it now. But it was pretty banged up earlier today. I won't even lie. But it was funny. I literally have my wife and my kids literally stand on one side of my shoulder just to get it popped back in. And they were just like, you're not hurt at all that we're on top of you? I was like, no, I just hope that y'all can just kind of press it a little bit.
Whoa, man.
And it kind of freaked them out.
Wow.
So that's really why I reached out to everybody. Basically, like I said, one more time, we're playing the Black Magic Social Club, July 5th, with Scroll Keeper, Save Your Skin. Right behind me is the Filthy Dead. I got to get more further. Frankenchrist. Wait a second. Can't see that one? Wait a second.
Let's see if I can zoom in on it. Let's see if I can get
Frankenchrist
a little bit bigger.
and Engineered Society Projects. This would be like our homecoming show, because actually we don't play Houston a lot. So really I want to reach out to the bands, Metal Bands Unite. And actually I'm making a song with a band called Dirt back east called Metal Bands Unite. So that was really the theme of this. The Black Magic Social Club, Engineered Society Projects is all over the place. We're playing the Whiskey A Go Go. July 11th, we're playing Las Vegas with Scum Love and LA Story. July 20th, we'll be back east with Dirt in September. We got a bunch more Whiskey A Go Go shows that we're doing here or there. But I'm really interested in the Houston scene. I want to have a great show at the Black Magic Social Club. And hopefully at some point, I can bring my friends from the Filthy Dead and Frankenchrist up here, and we can have like a full podcast and shoot the shit and talk about. And another thing is, I wouldn't mind doing a song, man, with you, brother. What's your name again? Skip? What? I forgot your name, the drummer.
Oh, Spike.
Spike. I wouldn't mind doing a song, man. You make me you bang some rocks together, and I'll sing some stuff over.
There you go.
Just don't sing country music, Chris. No country.
I will not sing it in a country twang. But that's the thing is like metal bands doing songs together, metal bands uniting. I think that's the theme. Like I was inspired, like I said, by this band called Dirt back east, and they inspired that in me. They hashtag metal bands unite. So the way to get in touch with us, all these bands are on Facebook. You can look us up: Save Your Skin, Scroll Keeper, The Filthy Dead, Frankenchrist, Engineered Society Project. We're all up on Facebook. Engineered Society Project is on all platforms. What about you guys? You guys on all platforms?
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah, too many to count, man.
I know. I can't keep up with them. That's Mark, the founder of Save Your Skin. I let him deal with all that. I've got all my.
Y'all just put it in that chat, and I'll put it on that little banner thing. And
Bandcamp is like our biggest thing. Then we're on everything: iTunes, Amazon. We even have like bunch of our first EP went out of print, and I found it for $2,000 online. Man, that was a trip. Wow. And incidentally, it's a store that was supposed to be selling it in Portland. It's too bad it's so far, because that guy will get a piece of my mind, but it's just so far. But it's ridiculous, man. It's but anyway, we're on everything you can imagine. I guess Deezer, iTunes, Amazon, and Instagram. The one that we don't dare to mention because they don't pay royalties. What was the name of that one?
Spotify.
There you go. I made you say it.
I don't think most of us could grow without that one.
Yeah, I personally use Deezer at this point, and Pandora. We're also on Pandora.
Oh, cool, man.
Y'all realize how hard it is to get on Pandora?
Oh yeah, it is. It took a while actually. We had to get to 2 records and finally get on there.
Hey, I love that. So when I first started this podcast, because I had a mindset like obviously in pro wrestling, and I'm pretty sure y'all have got this mindset as well. Y'all want to be noticed. Y'all got to get your name out. You got to get growth and stuff like that. So when I first started this, I was just like, all right, I'm going to get on this platform. 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 And like, it was good at first. It's really cool to Google and you can just see all these names on the Google standpoint. But then you realize, oh, I got to promote every single one of these. Yeah. And like,
it's a nightmare.
Everyone's like, so which one are you on? I'm just like, man, just go on the link tree. I can't even name all of them anymore.
Oh,
but
yeah,
the
definitely.
Thing is, so what I would always do is I would Google out all the platforms to see what I was on. I realized I wasn't on Pandora yet. So I go to reach out to Pandora, send them out my thing. You got to show them the analytics, especially on a podcast standpoint. You got to show them the analytics and stuff, just kind of show proof like they can do something with yours off of their platform. It took them 5 months to let me know if they would accept my thing or not. Like Spotify, literally a day. Like I've never had a problem with like platforms getting on, but Pandora, man, it felt like I took the SATs all over again and just sitting there waiting for the results.
But if you feel validated now, right? You feel validated though, it's like a huge win, man. It's a good thing.
A champion podcaster. I'm on Pandora. Like it took 5 months to get on there. I got to the point I was like, you know what? I don't even want to promote any of the other ones because apparently Pandora is the one that literally was like putting me through the ringer. Like, hey, you're here. You need to just promote this platform because, like I said, it took 5 months for them to accept and say, hey, we're going to play your podcast on our platform. I was just like, 5 months.
Kris, I got a funny story for you, man. Actually, every time we play or I go see a show at the Black Magic Social Club, I talked to JoJo, who I had no idea was your guitar player. And then finally I see the pictures like, man, hold on. I know this guy. I talk to him every time I'm up there. We're talking about music, a bunch of crap. And I don't think he's ever told me he's in your band, though. It's like, I kind of play a little bit of guitar. He designs pedals, or he has a friend that designs pedals. And we just kind of go off on a tangent talking about pedals. How looking at Spike, I think he can also appreciate pedals. Looking at all that circuitry behind them, right? So anyway, yeah, we always just spend so much time talking about geeking out on. Oh man, did you try that wah pedal? Did you try that overdrive and all that? And then I see the picture. I was like, hold on, I've seen this guy before. It was hilarious. And yeah, considering that I don't know how many, like maybe for the last 2-3 years we've been talking every time there was a show up there. I for some reason didn't know he was in your band.
Wow,
that's a trip.
that is a cool studio. Like, what do you like? Have bands come in and record them, or you just make your own music there?
I primarily only do my own stuff. I do have projects that I do work on from time to time, but only if I'm kind of involved in the project or it's a particular scenario. But yeah, I'm not like a regular open studio with projects coming through, but I do work on various things. Like I was going to say, you mentioned that film you're working on. If you need sound design, myself and actually my producer actually had sounds that were in the trailers for Dune and Dune 2 and various other films that he got. He had a lot of his sound design in, which is like really amazing, like the laundry list of stuff that they've been using sounds from him, and the two of us work together from time to time on stuff. But yeah, if you ever need sound effects or something for your film.
But are you talking about the original Dune?
No, not the 1980s version.
The very recent ones.
Oh, the more recent ones. Wow, that's incredible.
They were in the trailer, not in the film proper, but in the trailers.
Hey, that means that they were there first. That's all that means.
Look behind you. I
kind of produces a lot of my stuff, and but I work with him quite a bit. His name's Brian Leach, and phenomenal sound designer and all that. But yeah, so. And there also a while a lot of anime was coming through my studio because he was working on anime, so that would, they do the voiceover work, and so he would mix it and stuff in my studio for a while until he got his own setup. But so I had a lot of anime coming through here because Houston and I believe Dallas is the other place. Houston has a company called Sentai, and I believe Dallas has a place called Funimation. And all anime that gets translated comes through here or there and gets produced. So,
wow,
yeah, kind of nuts if you're into anime.
That's it's so funny now that people are treating anime like it's brand new. Like it's been out forever.
Yeah.
What was it? I still remember getting drunk watching Road Racer. Was it? Or is that considered anime? I don't even know, man.
Yeah, I think.
The sad thing is I didn't
the
know
Japanese cartoons, I guess.
Anime. I was like, so I've been watching anime when I was like 9, because I remember the first thing I really thought legitimate was anime was Dragon Ball Z. Big Dragon Ball Z fan. And then people looked at me and was like, oh, you're a rookie when it comes to watching anime. I was like, I didn't know what it was at first. And then they introduced me all these other names. I'm like, good Lord, there's so many. And it's like everyone's acting like anime is like brand freaking new. That's the same thing. It's so funny, like how the world like gets attached to things. Like things have been out for so long, but it's like they never were heard of or something like that. And like CrossFit or something like that. Nobody knew what that was, but it's been out for like since the 50s or 60s. It was just in only military form to do stuff like that. And they're like, oh my gosh, this is the greatest new thing ever. And it's like, y'all really don't realize this stuff has all been there before. It's just, you don't have the proper presentation or whatever focus to see it now. I do want to talk about what Kris literally has been saying. He wants to put everybody's eyes back on everybody's ears listening to a certain type of rock music. And I feel like Al has said before too, is the U.S. audience, it's not really clicking as well as it is overseas and stuff like that. Now back then, everybody was listening to something regarding heavy metal rock music, something like that. Do y'all kind of does anybody know why it's not as like the big thing anymore? Like
things have gotten pretty stale, to be honest with you.
Right.
There is a guy called Rick Beato. I don't know if I pronounced his last name correctly, but he just put out one about artificial intelligence.
Country music, I just feel like it's getting too depressing, and I'm just like, I'll just sit here and listen.
Well, talking about that, I just thought I mentioned this. Is like I always make fun out of this, but it's a good place to put that since you mentioned depressing. So there's so many. First thing, talking about heavy music, there's so many subgenres. We got so categorized, and it wasn't categorized enough that they created further subgenres out of this. So right now there is a genre called depressive black metal. So black metal is so cheerful in general that they actually had to make it depressive. But talking from, I'm an audio engineer myself as well, and talking from standpoint when I kind of got out of commercial productions is when the machines came in. This Spike, it's your fault, man. You like the machines. I'm just kidding. But what happened is I used to, so they had me training recent graduates, and I'm talking, I don't know, the year was 2006, 2007. So graduates from School of Engineering come in. I'm head engineer at this studio, and I'm recording a live band. So in other words, there were these guys, everything is isolated, but there's 4 guys and a singer in an ISO booth. I'm sorry, the singer also played guitar. So it was 3 guys in a room, and there is a adjacent ISO booth with another guy in there looking at them, and they're all jamming together. And all these new kids that came out of production, they're just looking at me aghast. They're, are you going to record all of that together at the same time? How do you do that? And I'm talking fourth year graduates from HCC, man. It was ridiculous. It's like, isn't that what they teach you guys? I mean, don't you know anything about band chemistry, about making a record, about playing together in a room, all these people gelling together? So at that point, I'm like, maybe this is, something I want to get out of, especially when we just started getting rappers. So I would have these guys that will come in with $1,000 per day film crew. They'll bring a USB stick, and there'll be one guy that will just hire the studio so he can look legit spitting into a mic. So I got 2 faders up. One is a stereo fader, and the other fader just has one vocal channel. Guy behind the glass that is just the stuff is recorded, so he's just muted and he's just pretending that he's singing it. And I got 20 guys with cameras behind me, and I'm like, okay, what am I doing here? What is the engineer's role here? Why am I sitting here at all? Sure. And that's kind of what I got out. So I pick and choose a project every once in a while if I feel it is good, and especially it would be an organic band. And I purposely kind of went back to where we threw in mics on our drums. We mic'd our amplifiers and actually left them open in the room. And that's kind of how we recorded Auto da Fe and the next record. So in other words, I have bleed because bleed is good. It's healthy. You're playing as well with everybody. Of course, we didn't track the vocals. We tracked the vocals separately, the keepers at least. The vocals were in an ISO booth. But in general, that's kind of how we try to play. And a lot of that's coming back, and kids might not be realizing it exactly what's happening, but they hear it. So it's like you listen to a Led Zeppelin record, it's got that swing. And you listen to the latest, who should I? Let me make sure it's somebody we didn't play with so I don't get... oh man, this is complicated.
You're the MVP.
Let's say the latest. Okay, what was that British band that were like super shredders? I can't think of. Oh man. Anyway, let's say a power metal band, very successful power metal band coming out of Europe, and you can pretty much put any band in there. It doesn't matter. Like first, the drums, they're all sound replaced. So the guy is not even playing his real kit.
Yep.
the next thing, it's all put on a grid. So they got a live person that spent, I don't know how many years. How long have you studied music, Spike?
Well, yeah, I mean, and I see where you're going, but
And you get put on a grid, and you sound, and you end up sounding like a $300 drum machine or a drum program, right? Everything that you learned in terms of dynamics and swing, etc., is done. It's killed.
It takes the human element out of it, which is in some ways good with certain genres of music, but most genres of music, you do want the human element. So, you do want, that's the whole point.
Yeah, so kids are kind of picking up on this, and they're actually getting into organic genres. And in a way, the new wave of traditional heavy metal is providing that. There is actually a whole channel on YouTube, Diego, shout out to Diego. He puts in these whole albums, and you listen to this, and okay, the production is not optimal. It's like, in terms of, I guess, optimal production, what would you say? Let's say Bob Rock album, maybe Metallica's Black Album.
Yeah, well,
let's say this is, I guess, the top level production you can achieve, but that's still live. It's played live.
You get into the semantics of. Actually, I had a session earlier, rehearsal, and we were talking about guitar players generally. If you say Clapton, they're like, gross, too sterilized. But you say Keith Richards, and they're like, oh yeah, Keith Richards, I can listen to him all day. It's all gritty and grimy, and it's not the
best man. Talking about that, the sympathy with the devil solo. How about that guitar tone? It's awful.
But the thing is a lot of production today for like metal records and a lot of times rock bands or whatever, it becomes too sterilized.
It's plastic. It's plastic. It's overdone to death.
Right. It takes all the life out of it. It's very sterilized. Things get grid, like you were talking about, like editing things to where it's on a grid and all that. Well, if you want that, push play on the drum machine.
Yeah. A lot of the stuff is actually programmed on drums even.
Right.
There is a very undercurring discussion about especially power metal with some guys in Germany and other parts that I know. Yeah. And they're telling me actually which record behind the scenes doesn't even have a live drummer playing, that are actually programmed.
Okay, they're just trying to sell some records or whatever. Okay, that's lame. And in general, the audience, the audience in general doesn't care how you made your record, which is sad to say.
Yeah, that is true.
Your head, as you can see, I love gear and noise toys and all that stuff. It's all about the gear for me and who's using it. But the audience doesn't care how you made your record. They don't care what gear Skinny Puppy used. They don't care what gear Steve Albini used. They just, do they like the song? Do they like the record? The sound of the band? That's it. And
it's all about the song in the end. Let's just be real. So if the song does not resonate,
exactly.
And the biggest thing in a song is actually, now we're heading the discussion towards Kris. I think you can have as many good musicians, but the most original and different thing in a song is the human voice, and the singer. Yeah. So how much of that you take out, and how much of that you digitize, and how much you fine tune it, etc. So I'll let that go up to Kris.
I think the further back you go in rock history, and that's why I want to ask Spike, is that analog or digital behind you? Is that all digital?
No, it's a combination of everything. So some of the gear behind me is as analog as it can get. Like the moment you turn it off, and then when you go and turn it back on, if you didn't record that sound, it's gone.
Wow.
That's awesome. That's how it should be, man.
But some of the gear I have is digital.
I tried to record an album once, and it just took so long, but I really wanted to do it because if you listen to Dark Side of the Moon, the sounds, like literally the spacious sounds that you're getting, the farther back you go in rock and roll history, they had less tracks.
Yeah.
More, the analog is just that really fat sound, man. Which I love.
They have a limited studio time, though. Pink Floyd were like one of these darlings of the record industry, though, man. So at the time that they did it, they were at the top of the game with the most expensive gear and unlimited studio time. And granted, they did it on a 4-track, but all the mixers that they used, all the preamps and everything they used were top notch at the time.
Yeah, for instance, if you go even further back, like we're going to the history of recording here, but
Awesome, man. I love this discussion.
Pink Floyd and bands like that, they multi-mic'd. Led Zeppelin, they had microphones all over the place. Let's go back even further to the beginning with the piano player Johnny Johnson, who was basically the father of rock and roll. And he worked with a guy that most people know named Chuck Berry. You might have heard of him. In fact, the song Johnny Be Good is actually about the piano player Johnny Johnson. So I actually got to work with Johnny for several years, and we actually got Johnny inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And
awesome.
He was actually inducted by Keith Richards. Long way around.
Nice.
Those recordings were one microphone in the room.
Yeah. Just like the old Elvis stuff too.
Everybody set up around that one microphone, and whoever was singing, for instance, Chuck Berry, was closer to the microphone, and everybody else was just in the room. And those songs sound great.
Yeah, Spike, a quick question though. How much a microphone like that would run up today though?
Well, it doesn't matter about today. That's the gear they had back then.
Yeah, but it's essentially one of those Neumanns that are 18,000 these days, right?
Probably actually it's probably before Neumann split, which was Telefunken Neumann. They used
now we're talking about a mustachioed gentleman that used to speak through these, and they were not fashionable because of that. So they had to rebrand themselves after the war.
Yes, exactly. But the thing is it's just about that's the gear they had back in the day. An audio engineer was actually an engineer, not just some guy who knew how to work a bunch of machines and turn some faders up and down and work an EQ. They were actual engineers. Like if something broke, they fixed it.
Yep.
Oh yeah, soldering iron and everything, and everything folded down to mono. That was the other thing.
Yeah.
And these songs still sound amazing to me. The Doors, like Kris mentioned Pink Floyd, and the Doors were kind of around that time, but a little before Pink Floyd even. So they had less tracks to work with. Really? Some of these albums, like you listen to that production nowadays, I don't think anybody can make a production this good with everything today. Unlimited money, they still can't make it sound that good.
Yeah, and the thing is too. I mean, I understand. Yes, they were using a Neumann microphone. They had actual tape, whether it was 2-track or 4-track tape. You can't beat tape. But for us nowadays, which is nuts. For us to get the old gear and use it to make a album now would be astronomical. You'd have to sell your house.
Yeah, it is not cheap. I think there was a recent band, Dave Grohl actually did an album. Everything was done analog.
Really?
Yeah.
And he went through quite a bit of money procuring tapes, although from what I hear now tapes are back and you can buy tapes at about $300. The reason I'm saying this is because we checked with the studio that I used in I did one analog recording full beginning to end at what was that big one in Houston, Sugar Hill,
yeah.
And I actually had to do tape transfers just to make sure I don't lose it, so I digitized everything.
Yep.
And I actually asked some people about doing analog, and they looked at me weird. It's like an engineer that we use on here, that's actually a pretty big name. He's like, how about we just record everything in Pro Tools, and I'm just going to use my $60,000 converters, and we'll put it on tape if you want tape, and we'll just mix it off the tape to a 2-inch tape. It's like, man, I'm not looking for that.
Right.
I'm actually looking for the band just gelling. There is one thing when the bass hits directly to tape, and the kick and the snare.
Yep.
Especially like the rest of the instruments, I could say digital probably gets just as good, but you could just really cook it. And then the guitar actually has this softness to it, even though super distorted guitar adds an air and softness that happens in analog that you can't replicate it still.
Yeah, tape saturation is a magical thing.
Yeah, and it might be 2% of the sound of the record, but once you compound this by 24 tracks, or even more at the time when they sync machines, which is another nightmare I don't want to mention.
Right, but the thing is all this, talk about all this awesome gear and this high end and the tape and all that, which is so awesome to us. It's sad to say, and I hate having to say it, but at the end of the day, the audience doesn't care.
Oh yeah. You got a kid on $20 earbuds listening to it in MP3. The least the minimum. I mean, what is it, like 128 MP3 K MP3? That's what the kid is listening to on real shitty earbuds.
Yeah.
So does it really matter? No. Now we go back to songwriting. That has to be amazing.
Yeah.
You have to think about the fan. The fan doesn't know, and that's why once again. I did this podcast because literally, and even though Warren is my wrestling friend, I love this conversation because only we know what goes behind the music, and they don't care what went into it. They just want the product. So
Right.
Well, Chris, in a way, kids actually know because they went back to tapes and they went back to LPs.
right.
And that's what I saw during right now the economy hits everybody so hard in the pocket that literally in 1 year we have seen decline in sales like you wouldn't imagine for product. And the kids had money, though. I'm talking in 2020, 2021, and they went out and they spent a lot of money on vinyl, on getting turntables, learning new instruments, which I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to happen in 10 years because everybody picked up a guitar, bass, drums, whatever. So that will be interesting to see further on. Those instruments went back to homes.
We released our brand new CD on vinyl, and I thought it was so cool at our last show at the Viper Room. Like seeing the vinyl was like, wow, that is crazy, man. And I think it is. I hear it's a big thing now. I think that I heard that vinyl is coming back big time, and I think that's a phenomenal thing. I think that's awesome.
Actually, the vinyl thing has really exploded over the past few years. I think it was Jack White, for the White Stripes.
Right.
He did a public service announcement kind of style, little short thing on YouTube, basically calling out all the other major companies because his record plant called Third Man Records could not keep up with the demand of vinyl, and so he was calling them all out, like the majors, Sony and Warner and all the big, Columbia, etc., saying you need to step up to the plate and start providing the vinyl. I can't make it all, and I can't make. I mean, there's people like submitting a record to get pressed and having to wait a year or longer in some.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Because the demand of vinyl is so high, and now it's turned around quite a bit. There was a record I just recently did with a noise artist named Richard Ramirez, and it was about 2-3 months turnaround on the record. It wasn't too bad, but and it was colored vinyl and everything, so it wasn't a horrible long time, but for a while there it was really bad, like 6 months to a year.
Oh yeah, no, actually I know some bands that had to wait a year and a half, but interestingly enough, this worked out in our favor being in on a German label that for some reason the shortage was stateside for some reason. I have no idea why.
Yeah.
I think maybe because too many of these plants closed up, and in Europe it seems that there are more people interested in vinyl and in physical media in general. And that's the other thing, talking about the art. Oh, man, now we're going to get into AI art, too. That's going to get so complicated. Man, Warren, I think you need to stay for another hour on here, man.
Hey, I love how y'all talk about certain things like this because I'm on a group called Commission Talks. And, with me being a pro wrestling guy, a lot of wrestling podcasts have just pro wrestling fans. And, I give that take based off of a pro wrestling's perspective. I know guys will sit there and talk about, oh, they look like they didn't know what they're doing and stuff. My first defense, I used to be really bad at it, especially when I first got in it at first, and I had to learn how to have an open mind and stuff. Obviously, what's the number one thing that we're looking at? Even y'all as well. You got to get the audience to listen to your product. You got to get the audience to follow it, search it, do whatever they got to do to make sure that you're trending on their computer, their phone, their laptop, whatever thing, which is crazy. a handheld, a watch, or anything is literally legitimately a computer. It literally has so much access to anything.
Unless you're a cult black metal, though, man. If you're in a cult black metal band, you need to be the other way around. They should not know what you look like. They might think you live in a cave, maybe in a coffin, and no internet presence whatsoever. Sorry for interjecting on that one. Sometimes anti-marketing. Sometimes anti-marketing also works. That it creates the aura of mystery. I think there was a guy called The Undertaker, which I guess you wouldn't really call wrestling. It was more of a. But I remember that guy in high school. I'm originally from Europe, so all this stuff is completely, literally foreign to me. And wrestling and all this, we had real wrestlers when I was in Europe. And then I see these guys, I was like, man, this guy should die after this move that they just pulled on him. And then you find out that the whole stage underneath has these acoustic things where it just, it jumps and it just does the bam, wham thing, whatever. So back to your marketing, though. So what were you saying? I guess it's the most important thing is how you present your product.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and one thing, like you just said, man, the U.S. audience, it might not click all the time. And I think a lot of people are taking a perspective in this, and I like to use wrestling the same thing is because when wrestling goes overseas, people are in lock with it. The crowd is losing their minds. They're seeing this stuff like this is the greatest thing they've ever seen. And I feel like a lot of people are, and I've said it countless times, entertainment industry, music industry, and stuff like that. If we keep acting up the way we are, and the craziest things, we have so much access to so much stuff. And like you just said, Al, a lot of people, overseas and stuff, they don't have all that access to get to the connections, to watch the things and stuff like that. So when they get to see it, it's like the coolest thing they've ever heard, the coolest thing they've ever seen, and stuff like that. And I've said it countless times, man. I think we take a lot of things for granted for the appreciation and the stuff that we get. Yeah, we don't have the best, when it comes to the money standpoint, financials, life situations, stuff like that. And but seeing these things personally happen and seeing it visually growth standpoint, it's been an exceptional thing. Like you said, getting your album in overseas and stuff like that. A lot of people pay more attention to it over there than they would in the U.S. audience. Which I do want to know. Do y'all think how like it used to be when you have a new album, everyone bought the CD, even if you only wanted 2 songs on the whole CD? I have been very bad at doing that in my entire past. I remember when I had my CD player, I literally only listened to maybe 2 or 3 songs, the ones that made the music video and stuff like that. And then you go, oh, wow, I like number 16. I like number 5. Like, I didn't know about that one. Like, it was like a brand new song. Do you think the music industry took a major hit not selling albums anymore instead of just selling songs, the downloads and stuff like that? Do y'all think that's another reason why almost over things with entertainment standpoint when it comes to music? Do you think that's another thing that took a major hit?
In a way, yeah, I can agree with that. The Apple really pulled, I like to say they pulled the wool over everybody's ears, right? They got everyone to accept a low quality audio format.
And Napster, especially free streaming. I mean, not streaming, free downloading.
Yeah. So, you had this whole Wild West, I guess, back with the Napster days and all that stuff. And then Apple kind of made it into basically a format that everyone...
Business model, yeah.
And, it's this horrible format, blah, blah, blah. But the thing is you're not listening to albums anymore, right? People want one song. That's why, like Robert Fripp, King Crimson, railed against Apple and all sorts of stuff and did not allow any of the material to be on there, is because it's not, you're buying a song or 2. He's like, no, you listen to my album. That was the whole experience. You listen to our album, experience the whole tapestry of what we wove together to produce this thing. And Apple and streaming formats in general aren't that. You know,
They broke up all that stuff. Yeah, they just
yeah,
made it into chunks.
It's a radio station on steroids that's coked up and coming at you constantly 24 hours a day. And it's just this endless playlist of a whole bunch of stuff. And a lot of people are like, oh, I heard this song, I don't know what it is, you know? And there's no like face or name to it in many cases.
That's the problem, man. Yeah, you're right.
It's that.
And a lot of people ain't taking that time to actually look for it either. That's the thing that I don't understand. Like, you know, when you take onto it, like we could all talk about it, and I think everybody's going to express just something like, and I feel like a whole nostalgia, you know, regarding with sports or anything like that. We say, oh, our era was better. Our era was better in this, you know. Oh, we had this one. We played out of how much we love the sport instead of how much we're getting paid type scenario, which it was all, I'm pretty sure everyone that played in that era or whatever is like, yeah, I still love the fact that I got paid to do this, but you had a different acknowledgement coming into that. And like what you just said with the music standpoint, a lot of people are, and I've noticed this, definitely getting growth on podcasting standpoint, especially doing video podcasts. I learned more people take more focus on shorts than they would watch the whole series or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I tested it out before, and a lot of people were like, "Yeah, man, a great platform, TikTok." I'm not really a big fan of it, whatever, but it's so crazy how many people will go like this and scroll videos, and that's how they get life.
It changes attention span, though, psychologically, though. When
and it's like the longest video you see on a TikTok is maybe 10 minutes and stuff, and people are just sitting there scrolling left and right, and they will only watch maybe the ones that are like 30 seconds, 15 seconds, stuff like that. It's like, I always wondered how someone could get a short attention span and stay hooked on it. That was something like I was against, because I had my editor that was telling me, hey, when you make your YouTube videos, make shorts with it. Make somebody engage into it. And I'm like, why do I want to, reveal some things in a little scene compared to they just watch the episode and see it and find out the whole reason of that episode of what it got to. And I gotta say, I ate my own words. I literally saw a growth on the shorts thing, and it was just like, it jumped instantly. I was just like, more people focus on the short attention span than the long distance. And I feel like that's what's took a hit in major things, is because everyone's finding that one thing. Like, it's like saying if a kid's in a movie theater and the opening credits is not what they want, they're going to get up and leave the movie. Like, it's so unreal to me, like, what we got to do to captivate the audience nowadays.
Nowadays
you're talking about music, because like I said before, I'm usually on a show where I'm talking to fans regarding with pro wrestling. I'm that star. I know a little bit more in that scene, so I love having y'all guys on here, venting and talking about what really goes into these music that people are not really giving them much of a chance to, because in that short attention span, that bass didn't sound the right way, or it didn't hit that different way, or it didn't make them feel like, oh my gosh, I should be, banging my head on a wall or something like that. It's just unreal, and I love hearing y'all talk about this stuff.
Yeah, see, Warren, the thing about this was, though, that the 3 minute 20-second commercial hit was born in the 60s. And people actually had, so in a way, that's your, snippet, but in music. And it was created all the way back then when people actually bought singles. And then usually the coolest thing was that you want to make an artistic statement, you stick it on the B side. And so, you sell Tribe on side A. And then side B might be a deeper cut that, some of the more weird people might get into it. But the chicks that just want to dance to, say, Johnny Be Good, they won't be into the B-side hit because it might be dark, it might be a little more brooding or whatever. So in a way, we always had that. But one thing is, like, growing up in the '80s and growing up in the heavy metal, early days when everything was rabid. Like, if you find somebody in a crowd, you go to a Venom concert, for example.
Venom.
And there is a guy that's has a patch that says Motley Crue, for example. He'll get beat up. He'll get murdered. and nowadays we play shows, and I'm seeing those two coexisting on a guy's battle vest.
Yeah.
And in a way, kids nowadays is like I'm in IT, and every once in a while, I go to these offices and I look at people's playlists. So I was like, just imagine something as strange as like Napalm Death, Kenny Chesney, the Doors, say the Beatles. Then they go back to, I don't know, like Dimmu Borgir, and it goes all the way around. And this is the person's playlist. And if you were a person that listened to this back in the '80s, and you were, say, Venom fan, you would get murdered, or especially Slayer fans. It was the same way with Slayer. It's like you listen to Kiss and you also like Slayer. Oh man, you're a poser. You're out of there.
Right.
So in a way, this whole thing creates a lot of new fans that might not necessarily like. But the problem is gatekeeping, in my opinion. So that is really the greatest problem. So you might be on all these platforms, but you're always downgraded because the record companies, and I mean the what is it, 2 record labels now that own everything these days, or maybe they're like curator investment firms. I don't even know. It's like somebody bought the Queen catalog for $1 billion. I don't know if you guys saw the news.
Yeah.
They recently sold that for $1 billion. And so these guys, they create a sweetheart deal with, you name it, say Spotify. So that means your song might be in the same genre. It might be just as good. But when that kid, chooses Queen and like Queen songs, the algorithm's never going to suggest your song. It's going to suggest another song by the big curator that is, got the sweetheart deal, and it's paying them, the huge bucks behind the scenes. Or, the thing is, you control the Queen catalog, and you basically bring in all these other poison pill shit bands. There are a bunch of these bands that are no good, right? That nobody likes. But the thing is, you own the Queen catalog, so you force Spotify to force feed the rest of the garbage into the audience as suggested playlists. So you got into this other, very business-like stuff that goes behind the scenes that the public is not aware. Or just back in the day when we had the major labels, you had the reason we had so few records was because everybody, like for example, let's say the thrash metal era, you had your Slayers, your Metallica, your Exodus, your Anthrax, but each major label had one of these usually. And then they'll put out one album, and then all the other bands that might be just as good or better, they got suppressed. Like all the German bands, for example, they never made it as big here. Like if you look at the German thrash metal movement, it's actually a lot better in terms of non-plastic releases, especially Anthrax, for example. I have no idea why they're in the big 4. But, that's, I guess, a subject matter for another discussion. But the thing is, you have Sodom and you have Creator coming out of Germany that in terms to, they should be in the big 4 and Anthrax should be out of there. And, I mean, Metallica after the third album, they should be out of there as well. It might be unpopular opinion. I also think that Testament should be in there as well, and probably Metallica and Megadeth should be out of it. But, that's, again, my personal favorites. But the gatekeepers, you had your Elektra, you had your Capitol Records. They didn't allow Noise Records out of Germany, who were a major minor label, to come in mass and take over the market. And same thing with, if you think about, bands like Iron Maiden had a really hard time breaking into the U.S. market because, again, they were suppressed for some of the local counterparts. Or Jimi Hendrix, he was not as big in the United States because there were gatekeepers. He had to go all the way into England in order to break through and come back in as almost like a British artist, because Americans thought the Brit artists were cool back at the time. And that's about it. It's I guess it's all comes down to money. I imagine if we had a few mil to just throw around at whatever our band names were right now into promotion, we'll go a lot better. You look at, what is her name? Electra Mustaine, I think, the daughter of Dave Mustaine. She had like a major record. It was played on almost every radio station. The thing was a complete crap. Part of part of my expression, but it was absolute garbage. But this is the daughter of Dave Mustaine, and a lot of commercial money were thrown behind the scenes that people didn't get to see. So, and she's a good-looking gal, So she gets on there, and the music is kind of derivative, kind of crappy, but people like seeing her shake her moneymaker. So they would watch this, and there'll be fans. They would like it. It would generate media furor. She would have a proper press agent and all that, and she'll be much further than many bands in the same genre that are much better. I think it was the same way with Lauren Harris. Steve Harris is from Iron Maiden. He has a daughter too that got to that point as well. So it's all about how much money and industry connection in the back.
It also does get back to the material as well, because they are anomalies, I'll say, because, and more often than not, like what Al's talking about, that is kind of the situation. It's who you know, and do you have a ton of money?
And crap dies out. Crap dies out. What it's crap and it's derivative and it's made up and it's stale, it usually dies in about a year.
Right. Title of the show. Right. I love that. Crap buys out.
Yeah,
it's huge value.
You have enough money to fuel the machine that puts you in front of all the people, right? You're on the billboard, you're on those shows. To open, like for instance, one of my friends, one of my old bandmates, his band at the time got to open for Motorhead on a festival. They were the 5th band before Motorhead, but they were on the tour. But it cost them $35,000 to be on the tour.
So they had to buy in other words.
Had to buy in, right?
Yep.
So they had a label that fronted the money. They got on the tour, and where are they now? Well, they're not anywhere now still. But the thing is they were able to do that. But then there's the opposite of that, which is bizarre. The band Death Grips. They have done absolutely everything that is career suicide for a band. Like, period. They were signed to Elektra Records. Their next album that they finished and put out, Elektra Records were dragging their feet, and they went, okay, we're going to put it out ourselves for free, and we're going to put a picture of our drummer's dick on the cover that has the name of the album written in Sharpie. Immediately, Elektra Records dropped Death Grips. They were like, oh, you guys, you're done. Well, guess what? They got bigger and bigger and bigger. 9 Inch Nails wanted them to tour with them.
No pun intended on the video.
You got on that one, yeah.
Yeah, and then 6 weeks before, it was like 6 weeks or so before the tour was supposed to start, Death Grip said, no, we're not going on tour with you. Bye. And they announced their own tour, which sold out nationwide. So, and then I just saw Death Grips in October, the end of last year. I had to buy the ticket a year in advance.
Wow.
To see them. I mean, and they do no promotion. They do nothing. They do absolutely nothing. It's about the music, and that's it. In fact, their shows, the venue I just saw them at was like one of the bigger venues here in Houston. And they sound checked while everybody was there. Like, they didn't care. They're not
awesome.
Us. They're driving around in their own tour van. And they also don't do a stage show. They have red lights on stage. They start the first song and they run all their songs together as one giant song for like 45 minutes or an hour. When they're done, that's it. That's the end of the show. Thank you. They walk off. And it was like sold out, you know? And I'm like, how are these guys doing this? But it's about the music. That's it. I mean, they're an anomaly, but it's only about the music, and that's it, you know?
Well, it was kind of like that guy Quarton from Bathory. I don't know if you guys are familiar, but there was basically, it was a little kid that was the son of the record label owner, and it was a pretty big Danish record label, if I'm not mistaken, or was it Swedish? No, I think it was Swedish. So this guy, in the free time that the studio is not used, he goes in there and plays badly, all kinds of instruments, mics them up badly, and creates this horrific noise. And then on top of that, he decides to be a non-entity. Nobody knows who this guy is. And I think Quarton is maybe Latin for Dark Prince or something like that. So basically, he picks that for his name. It's a moniker, right? And nobody knows the rest of the band. He does maybe 2 or 3 shows all his life. And eventually he latches on into the Viking saga kind of stuff that, other bands that picked up and did it better. But he was like one of the originators of the Viking metal genre, which originally, though, he was like black metal, like this really nasty noise. And nobody knew who this guy was. And he created almost like a whole genre by himself, and nobody knowing anything. But then he's got a pretty major label behind him, but his dad, of course, not to ruin his reputation, puts a lot of money behind it and releases it as a separate thing, so it doesn't really drag down his record label. It's a separate record label that he creates a little brand, offshoot that's just this kind of stuff, and a bunch of freaks that are trying to.
Did we lose him?
You lose you?
Oh. He was on a good rant too.
Yeah, no, he was going
on it, man. Yeah, I mean,
if you have to, man, just cut back in, and I'll put you right back in, bud.
Wish it was more about the music than about all this other stuff we have to do. If you think back in the day, you got into a band,
they would lose it.
Followed them. Yeah, we just got you back.
We got you.
Yeah, man, wishes it was more about the music and it wasn't all this other stuff, man.
Yeah. You think of a great example, and I just realized this: the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Like, you see all the trademark and performers that have been on the Super Bowl. Little did any of us know, obviously a fan perspective, that they had to pay them to play in the Super Bowl. Like, I'm thinking, like, man, they getting a good check to perform in the Super Bowl. Like, everybody's watching the Super Bowl, which it's crazy because we used to always say America was the only known area for NFL. Nobody knew what the NFL was overseas. Now, NFL has been marketing their standpoint in Germany, France, all these stuff. Like, you're having fans when you're watching a game in London, they're not watching it for one team. They have countless jerseys. There's just NFL jerseys on these people. They just think it's awesome that they're seeing this. And it was just crazy to hear the Super Bowl. You have to pay to play in the Super Bowl, to perform in the Super Bowl. Like, that just blew my mind. I'm like, but my wife was asking me, she's like, so if they have to pay to play in it, what's the purpose of doing it? I'm like, hun, their music is going to be listened globally. Their music, if nobody's ever listened to their song, it's getting downloaded instantly on internet or social media, whatever. It's going to be trending, just the certain things. And there's sometimes that they put bands that nobody really hears of or hasn't heard of in like 10 to 15 years, that when they hear them on the Super Bowl, it's like brand new. And it's like, it's so cool when you talk about these things, like how you are saying these. I think that's one of the greatest examples is the fact that if you were a struggling artist or something like that, and yes, paying for the Super Bowl to play and perform in the Super Bowl, that is an insane amount of money, because you got to look at the production standpoint, how much money you're going to have to put for the staging area that you're going to use, Are you cutting out half the field to put the stage on? What are you using? Pyro? Because you got to have pyro in your music and stuff like that for a Super Bowl. And it's so insane that when I found out, I was like, wow, you have to pay to perform in the Super Bowl. Like, that should be the opposite. In my opinion, I thought the Super Bowl should be reaching out to somebody to say, hey, can you perform here? We will give you X amount of dollars or whatever to perform here. But no, it's the other way around. And you look at the list of the performers that have been on the Super Bowl, and it's just crazy. Like, that's how a business has grown. That's how everyone is, working with the next, is the fact that you're more having to pay to perform in things than it's, hey, I've listened to your stuff. I want to pay for this. I want to do this, because it's like, it's a whole different perspective. And I love hearing y'all talk about stuff like this, because I don't know behind the scenes and stuff like that. Like, I can give my perspective based off of how I listen to a song. One reason how I can really get into a song, it's kind of like how I regard with pro wrestling, because I don't really worry about the match. I worry about the story that is being presented in the match. Like, that's the part that gets me excited. Like, I always say, I want music to be like, I can listen to it and I can't wait for the next one. Like, that's something like you want to get it captivating with the audience. So when I hear a song that I can relate to and I listen to, and I won't lie to y'all, I mainly only listen to music now when I'm in the zone to work out or something like that. And meeting Kris Keyes, I've listened to Fly on the Wall. It like randomly just pops in my head when I'm at work, and I'm just humming that song. Now it's like, it's just those things, like, you don't realize certain songs and stuff like that, what can be relatability and how you can attach yourself towards them. And it's like,
well, exactly what we're talking about. And literally, it's great to have you coming from the listener point of view, because what Spike and Save Your Skin and what we're talking about, Scroll Keeper, is we're talking about what's happening behind the scenes. And we've been talking about how it's sort of been taken away from us, because you as a listener doesn't think about how we did it. You don't think about that we had to do all these things, analog, digital, all the things we've been talking about. And that really comes back to why I think this thing is coming up for me, Metal Bands Unite, because I think if bands can unite more right now, I think we can take back a little bit of our power. I think we can take back a little of how things are done. And I think that's the only way to do it, because in this podcast, we've talked about a lot of different things, and it sounds like a lot of stuff has been taken away. The magic of music, the writing of songs. I'm really into writing songs. Like, you talked about that Undertaker song I wrote. I was really into that. And it wasn't about the pro wrestler. It was about being faced with death, coming face to face with your own mortality. So literally, that's why I say Metal Bands Unite. That's why I initiated this podcast, because I'm reaching out as the singer of Engineered Society Project, and saying, hey, man, maybe we can unify a little bit more, and they can, because really, Spike was talking about Napster. I'm not sure if Al or Spike were talking about Napster. That really is taking away our business, or that was the beginning of taking away what the whole thing was, and literally, I would, in my time, like to take a little bit of it back, and I think that could come from bands getting together and going, hey, man, we know what this process is. And someone like you, Warren, we appreciate you that you listen to it, but really, I think there needs to be that situation that you're on the other side of it. We don't want you in the studio seeing the things we have to put into it, because that's none of you're not into that. You just want to be affected by what we're making. Mm-hmm. You just want the result of what we're making, and all the stuff that we have to do it is what we do.
Yeah, but then on the other hand, you have the guy from Spotify that says that essentially all that labor that you just mentioned, it's worthless, and it's at best it's minuscule.
Yeah.
And in other words, you paying to go to a professional studio with a professional producer. Well, we don't really do that anymore because I kind of learned because I was forced to. For the most part, because I couldn't afford all this. I did albums with producers and engineers, and most of the time they just burn your money twiddling knobs. And especially once I got to the point where I worked as an engineer, and I get to a guy that's slower than I am, behind the console, and I know I'm paying $120. That infuriates me. And so that's kind of why I took. It might not be the best production, but that's why I took the reins in my own hands, and the guys are pretty happy with it. We could probably have better production if we spent another, extra 20,000-40,000. But at the level, I guess it's not as important. But just going back to what Kris mentioned, all this behind the scenes stuff, it's rendered obsolete and inconsequential by a guy like the Spotify owner. And this is where there is a major disconnect, because you put in a lot of money into generating product for a tech trillionaire that is a gatekeeper essentially, and you have to go through him. So you're generating profit for this guy for no reason whatsoever, but just because everybody else is doing it. And in a way, being in a local scene is the same way. It's like, okay, for example, let's say Kris, Spike, all the bands in here create a union, and we refuse to take a certain below pay gig. There will be enough young and stupid bands that they will even come out of high school and bring their moms and pops to pay for ticket prices just to be there, so they can be on a proper stage with a proper lighting. And some clubs actually ran off of that premise, and some of them closed recently, but a lot of them, they will just put anybody in there as long as you pre-sell tickets and you bring up just enough of a crowd. Actually, we lost the Battle Wacken because of this, because the band actually that won was the band that threw the most cash. So these guys basically prepaid all their tickets. So we were given tickets, but supposedly there was supposed to be some kind of judges, and I walk in there and they're okay. I have no idea how these guys got even affiliated with Wacken, but they were just like bunch of local scene promoters out of Austin that were essentially pretty much small potatoes and had no idea about music, and they were the judges. And the only thing this guy's looking for is who's going to generate the biggest income. Luckily, COVID shut this down. Actually, what happened is we lost this, and the band that actually paid the most money went to the next. And then in the next, the next stage of the challenge, there was another band that spent more money and bought more tickets, so they fell off. And essentially, this whole thing is a big pyramid scheme until we get to maybe the end of it. And Europeans, they don't even hear about this. When the guys that run Wacken, they have no idea what's going on here. This is just some promoter just got like a little license to run the Texas chapter of this, and that's what they're doing. So what I'm trying to say, I guess I've maybe a little too lengthy of an explanation, is you have certain gatekeepers, and as long as there is an idiot to pay the entrance fee, which in some cases has been us as well. We've done all this stuff. We've done the battle of the bands. We've done I'm sure all of us have. You grow up and you learn that this is not a proper business model. That's why, for the most part, we don't play much of our hometown in general. We try to reach out and play cities outside of Texas for the most part now. I mean, we've gone to the point where now we're branching out of Texas. We're going to Louisiana. We're going to be going to Louisiana and some other local states, because that's the other thing, is having a day job, which most of us do. Yeah, and we also have a bass player that's in San Antonio, which is a 3-hour drive or something like that. So in a way, we are regional. We're not just local, just based on the geography. But just having to organize this, so you cannot really do a full proper tour because everybody's got to go back to their job. So we do little treks. So you take off on a Friday afternoon, you play one place that's within 3-hour drive. Then you play another place on the next day. That's within another 6-hour drive, and then Sunday you recuperate and you drive back the whole distance. And unfortunately, at that point, this is as good as it is. And unless we land some major festivals, we probably won't be going much further unless we can do like maybe a fly-in and go from there. But just long story short, as long as there are people willing to pay the entrance fees, you're always going to have, even if you create a music union here, the club promoters and bookers, all they're going to do is they're going to pick the next slew of kid bands that sound like shit. Literally sound like shit, and they're awful. And that's why, for the most part, I don't even stay in for gigs anymore. It's like my ears are tired. I got to protect my ears. Actually, they're my money. So I cannot sit in and listen to the same derivative Pantera bands, for the whole duration of while I'm waiting my turn to play on a gig. It's like, well, man, you don't support the local scene. It's like, well, do something original and I'll support you, And I might get beat up by some of the local bands for saying this, but this is exactly what it is. Try to sound original. Don't be just a clone of something. And this mentioning this, it's like I had a deep dive with Savior Skin, and I could say that it's one of the Houston bands that has always been interesting and always taken a different approach. And they don't sound like anybody. They're doing their own thing. And unfortunately, Kris, I haven't listened to your stuff much, but what I heard, which was some singles, I could say the same thing. I can hear a lot of influences, but you guys sound like your own thing. You don't sound like, say you just picked up a certain band and, just sound like that. There was like some bands recently while I was moving out of the studio. There was a band that sounded exactly like a cross between Metallica Black Album and Pantera for the most part, and I mean like a 50-50 exact copy. And I think I even heard Enter Sandman, but they dropped 2 notes off of that riff, and they were practicing this song for like 2 hours, the one with the Enter Sandman riff in it. It was like, how do you don't hear this? This is the other problem. So when you have anybody that can slap a band together with, just as long as they sell enough tickets, not based on the quality of the band itself, you cannot really have a proper scene. So these things have to be filtered out somehow. And I don't know. I don't have the solution for this.
That I mean, of course, it is what it is. But I kind of blame LA for pay to play.
Oh yeah.
To play thing that the first time I ever heard about that was an LA thing,
absolutely.
Trip, and then it's kind of like a virus. It's infiltrated other parts of the country, and there's even clubs here that do that. Where it's like, here, sell tickets. I'm like, your job is to fill the barn. You've got a promoter, you've got a guy that's supposed to tell everyone about the show and fill the barn. Our job is to be the talent and hone our skills and be talent. It's entertainment. It's a show, right? I mean, we're not Kiss with makeup and costumes and, stage pyrotechnics and all that stuff, but it's entertainment, right? We're supposed to be really good at our craft. We're supposed to be, you're supposed to work at being an amazing band, write amazing material, and deliver on that and be professional, right? You get there on time, you're ready there for sound check, you do your gig, you don't go overtime, and you get the hell off the stage so the next band can get on there, and everything works like a machine. But now the clubs expect us to sell the tickets and promote the show and do all this other extra stuff, where it's like, yes, of course, I mean, we want to help, but not do the entire job. Yep. That's the club's, whoever their promoter is, that's their job. That's why they get paid for that, or at least they're supposed to.
Absolutely.
And so it's in the era that we're in with the internet, everything's at our disposal. Yes, we all have megaphones and we're all screaming in them to, hey, look at me, like a me-seeks or something. with our bands and our, our music, et cetera, because we're all selling, T-shirts. We're all T-shirt salesmen, as they like to say. And you use those mediums to make ends meet. Yes, you do want to let everyone know that's following you online about your show, et cetera, but what are the clubs doing about it? Why aren't they promoting it as heavily or more heavily than any of the bands are? Because they want to fill the barn and sell booze. I mean, they don't care, honestly. Like Black Magic Social Club, and that's a great venue. I play there all the time. I play there constantly. But as far as entertainment goes, you could be G.G. Allen on stage shoving a microphone up your butt. But if it's going to fill the barn and everybody's drinking and the bar's doing great, sure, why not? But if you're like King fucking Crimson on stage and you are an amazing, phenomenal musicians, but 4 people showed up and your mom, see ya, it's showbiz, it's entertainment, right? Fill the barn. But they, instead of this pay to play kind of, atmosphere, the venues need to, with the promoters, etc., do their job, fill the barn, reassure that the bands that they get are good. They're good at their craft. They're good at what they do. And yes, an audience will arrive, will show up because they're going to come to drink anyways. But if the bands are good and you consistently provide good entertainment, your venue does, then of course you're going to keep filling the barn. But, it is what it is.
I still remember the good old days when actually you had to go physically and sign a contract with the venue.
Yeah. Which
delineated, basically, it was a legally binding contract. You don't show up, you were liable, and if the club did not provide, they were also liable. Right. And back in those days, there was you would get a promoter, you would get at least a commercial on radio, which at that time was 101 KOL, if I'm not mistaken. Or what was it? The 106.9, which was the metal station. You would get at least one commercial before the show, and there will be at least an ad in the Houston Chronicle, which was the leading paper at the time. So this is what you got for playing a place that was just a regular club. I wouldn't say anything really huge. And this was just par for the course.
Yeah.
And you don't show up to the gig, actually, the bar owner can sue you for, breach of contract. And they actually did it. But some of them were actually, there were enough bands that I knew that got sued once or twice with flaky band members. And now the thing is, some of these kid bands, the guy just wakes up, he's overdosed the night before and doesn't feel like going over there. Or he's drunk, has a hangover, or, whatever. Or his mom won't drive him to the venue. and the band just drops out last minute.
Yep.
And, some of these places that just do, bands by numbers without looking at any of the quality, they just end up with shows that are not well booked, and there is, dead air in there, and the clubs don't do well. So there is no curating happening, which I don't know what the solution to that is, because I don't know if there are really as many music fans now in general as there used to be. People just want to see their nostalgia act. Nobody wants to discover anything new.
I think there is, and I think this is a beautiful podcast. I think we've talked about a lot of things that we see, and once again, right from the beginning, I said metal bands unite. I think it's doing just this. I'm looking forward to meeting you guys. I'm new to the Texas scene, so I'm looking forward to meeting you guys in person, seeing your band play, and I think there has to be an answer. There has to be a light at the end of the tunnel. And I think it is stuff like this. I think it's doing podcasts. I think it's doing radio interviews, talking about it, reaching out to other metal bands and look at going, say, hey, man, this is what the situation is. The situation used to be better. The situation I think was created in LA where they're making bands pay to play. They're making bands do this. So really, metal bands unite. I think that has a multiple meaning where it's like, listen, if we get together and start talking about things, another band's going to go, hey, man, they're right. And then they're going to join with us. And slowly, I think it's a unionization of, but really it's just talking. It's like individuals talking, doing it right now. And this right here is a united situation. This is Scroll Keeper. What's your band?
Savior
Scroll
Skin.
Keeper.
Savior Skin.
Save Your Skin, Engineered Society Project. And literally, we're here. We're showing the problems we're having in our industry, but we're getting together. We're unifying. We're getting up on the same stage. And I think that's the answer, man. It's the only thing you can really do. I don't think it's a complete answer, but it's at least a beginning, you know?
Let me ask you this, guys. Do you do it for the money?
Oh, come on.
You just got bit. You just got bit by the bug, and you can't quit it.
5 years old, man. 5 years old. I stepped onto a stage as a singing tap dancer, and I've literally been addicted to the stage ever since. And literally the whole relationship of writing lyrics, writing music, having it relate to other musicians, having it relate to other people has been my whole life ever since I was 5. Never changed.
Well, there you go. That's the thing. It's like I tried quitting it twice, and I just couldn't. I started missing it, and that's kind of how I ended up in this band, you know.
Well,
And look at me now. It's 6 years going.
Well, I'm one of those that's too stupid to quit, and as you can see, the stuff behind me,
Plus, you got serious investment in this, right?
I'm more addicted to it even now than I was when I started. You know.
Yeah. I have a really good band, man. I really love my band. Jojo Brown is the guitar player. You met him, Al, and then
And I know Tim's been doing this forever as well, because I know him from the Houston scene at least for 15 years.
Timothy Moss has been doing it, and our drummer,
Yeah.
really good guys. And like I said, I'm the new guy. I'm the new guy to the whole scene. So really, that was the purpose of this podcast, is to introduce myself to Houston and to introduce myself to the scene and other bands. And so grateful for our pro wrestling commentator to bring us together.
Absolutely.
Yes, Warren, we do appreciate it. Maybe we need to do some kind of a crossover. You know, maybe create a new podcast, wrestling and metal.
There you go.
Hey, a lot of people don't realize music is a big thing when it regards into pro wrestling.
Every one of those wrestlers got to have some crazy theme
They
song.
gotta have the music is what makes that character.
You know?
So, I mean, like we all just said, you have to find something to put butts to seats. You have to find ways to fill the barn. Music in pro wrestling, that if that entrance song hits it a certain way, man, that's what captivates that audience to focus on, to look at that guy and go, hey, I want his shirt. Hey, he's got a toy, like, you know, those type of things. So I love when I'm hearing y'all talk about stuff like this, because like I said, man, I'm just a listener. I mean, I only know, hey, press play, stop, whatever, could go search, look at y'all's bands, look at the music and stuff like that. But it's hearing y'all talk about, like, hey, man, am I really doing this for the money? Like, that's a cool incentive. That's something that in the reality, in the long run, that could be the long payoff. Be like, hey, this was awesome. And I say this all the time, man. And, you know, I love how y'all talked about it. Al, you just said you tried to quit this twice. I love how you talk about this, because that's how I felt with pro wrestling for the longest time. When I really got severely hurt, I was dead set. I had a feeling like, that's it. I'm done. I didn't get to leave on my terms. I'm done. I'm out. I can't do nothing. And I got this opportunity again. And I mean, doctor did say, hey, you're healthy now, but it could go again. It could go badly again. And, you know, but this time it's my time. This is on my terms. This is my time to go, hey, I left it on my terms. Not somebody telling me, hey, you've done something to your neck, and you're done. Like, that's it. Like, you have no way of showing the crowd saying, hey, thanks, whatever. That's why I started this podcast, to try to have that little rant to let the fans know, hey, I'm good, whatever. But then I realized, hey, the fans don't really, they know American Prodigy, they appreciate him, but they want to know the other guy that's behind the microphone. And that introduced me to knowing, hey, I could be myself and not just be that larger than life character I was in a pro wrestling ring and stuff like that. And seeing the adaptation and stuff like that. That was my thing, to give back and say, hey, y'all gave me something. Now I want to give back something to y'all as well.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Obviously-
It's like you get three people, for example, that say picked up your record in Greece, and this is, you know, three lives that you touched. And I'm sure, I mean, your industry is the same way. You know, you might have some fans out of God knows where.
One person's mindset or something like that, and I think we could all relate to this as well. We want somebody to pay a ticket for X amount of time that we're going to be performing or whatever, for them to forget about the troubles that are going on in life. They could have lost their job. They could have, you know, spent their whole time, like y'all just said, you know, talking about bands like Metallica and stuff like that. They've been always wanting to see that, but they could see it. And yeah, it might not be the larger than life stage or whatever, but you have the same passion as that band that they've sat there and put their hearts and souls to listen to, that never get that chance to listen to them. And in a way, you could be that band that makes them believe, like, hey, man, I may not have listened to that band, but this band was not that far from it and super, super good. That creates a fan base. That creates something to build your market and stuff like that, and for you to continue that growth. Like, I tell people all the time, like, man, yes, I can't say I pro wrestle for free. People look at me like I'm the most craziest son of a gun on the planet. But the money, yeah, it's a cool payoff for something, but the effect that I can have on a kid, on their face and stuff like that, that's what makes me enjoy this the most. And that's something that I made this run make more values. I'm doing this for me to be happy, for me to see the growth of this, whatever. I'm not doing this to make the money.
Yeah.
I have a job for that. I have a job that covers all that. But yes, am I going to lie and say I don't ask for a good pay when I have a promoter wanting to book me? Yeah, I am, because it is quite a drive at some of these shows, and you're going to cover my gas or something like that. Like, yeah, I mean, that's just obviously typical business. Like, I am a performer. That's something I had to learn for the longest time, is you are the performer. Yes, you can promote the show, do all that stuff, but that's not always our responsibility. You're supposed to be the attraction. And that's something, like, I agree with what y'all are saying, is bars and, you know, all these places that want these venues for y'all to play, they depend on y'all to draw that crowd. They don't depend on the fact that they have a legacy of their building or whatever bar they're in, whatever. And Spike, you said it perfectly. People are going to want to drink, especially y'all live in Texas. So I don't think there's one person that's going to sit there and say they're going to turn down a $2 beer or whatever they're selling that day. Like, so I love how you talk about that, because that's going to fill the building. That is going to be the thing. And of course, what makes a great connection in a bar or in an area that's serving alcohol? Good music. It's got, you know, that reliability, has that enjoyability, stuff like that. So I'm definitely looking forward to hearing how this show turns out and everything like that. Guys, we are officially on our victory lap. I want to give a shout out to everyone that has been still listening and watching us at this crazy time of the day. But man, this has been an awesome chat. Who wants to go first?
Hey, thanks for having us, man. My name is Kris Keyes, and you know, like before, I know Save Your Skin. The reason I wanted Spike to say it is that's what you do. I think in your business, you put people over, like the Undertaker or whatever puts like Steve Austin over, and literally that's what I'm all about these days. I'm all about networking with other bands and saying their name, having their name being said, because I know the value of my name being said. Engineered Society Project. Kris Keyes from Engineered Society Project. Spike from Save Your Skin, and Al from Scroll Keeper. You know, the connection, everybody can feel it, because that's what they're attracted to about a band. The band is about one thing. And when musicians, I think, connect, I think it's a powerful thing. And we're going to do a show July 5th at the Black Magic Social Club. I'm a new kid on the block. I look forward to meeting my new friends. And we'll be back up sometime, Warren, to tell you how the show went, introduce you to our other friends from the Filthy Dead and Frankenchrist. And look forward to showing you our new music. We're always recording, but definitely our new CD out right now is called Deception, Engineered Society Project. And thanks for having us, Warren.
Hey, man, always a pleasure. All right, Spike. Al?
Great meeting you guys. And Warren, thank you for putting this all together and everything. Looking forward to the show, and look forward to talking to you guys again soon. And hope everybody has safe travels, especially, those of you on the road getting here for the gig. And yeah, we'll see everybody soon. More noise.
Yeah. Al?
We lose Al.
We lose Al again?
We lost Al!
Well, Al gave us some good insight. I've actually toured Europe. I toured Germany, and they definitely have a really great appreciation for music. So I look forward to going. Actually, Engineered Society Project may be back in Europe at the end of this year. So I look forward to meeting you, Spike, on next Friday?
Next Friday.
Next Friday, man.
Yeah.
Thanks
Right after 4th of July, so hopefully there will be a lot of
That's
people.
what I was about to say. 4th of July is on a Thursday this time. That's the most random thing for me.
We're the
I was
day
just like, on a week?
the
Really?
July 5th.
Yep.
So we're playing July 5th, the day after 4th of July.
Woo!
Guys, man, if y'all are in the Texas area and stuff like that, go check them out. Let's make rock music matter again. Let's get these bands, get them united, get them more people, the t-shirts and everything. Like, man, let's help grow these bands, man. Let's bring rock music back.
There you go. Amen, brother.
Hey, I want to thank all of y'all for
And
listening.
we need to sell those phone lines, man. Our fall merch just dropped, It's gonna get cold pretty soon, so we gotta sell those sweatshirts.
Hey, there you go. There you go. Hey, a couple of, little brewskis in there too. They might feel a little chilly, But guys, the links are below. Check these bands out. I want to thank Kris Keyes for popping on again. I think this is his 3rd appearance back. Woo! So major shout out to him. Guys, make sure if you are in the Texas area, go check out this awesome upcoming event, July 5th. Not 4th,
Black Magic Social.
not 6th, 5th. Where's the
July
building?
5, Friday, at the Black Magic Social Club, East Downtown Houston, Texas.
Yes.
All right, man. Y'all hear it. Guys, y'all have heard it first and foremost right here. They are excited. They are ready to perform for y'all. July 5th. Y'all have no excuse, man. Y'all got the fireworks. Y'all going to have that music. Y'all got to have the music to go with that fireworks. So make sure y'all check them out, guys. I want to thank everybody that were listening today. This has been another great episode of Buzzing with Marlowe, episode 175. We're going to name it Bands Unite. I thought that was an awesome episode. This was really
Sounds great, man.
Yeah.
Al, Spike, I want to thank y'all for joining us, man. Shout out to y'all. Shout out to your band.
Thank you, Warren.
Y'all are more than welcome. If y'all ever want to, let me know. We will have y'all back on as well. Kris Keyes, the invite's always there for you, brother.
And the other bands on the bill, the Filthy Dead.
Hey, I love it, man. I like to talk about Marvel and stuff like that, but we're gonna get the rock bands assemble. We're gonna get something going with that. I like that. So, but guys, we want to thank everybody that was listening, watching. At such a great time. This was greatly appreciated. Guys, if you are new to the channel, make sure y'all, we always talk about it, like, share, most importantly, subscribe. Hit that notification bell on all our platforms. As you can see us on YouTube, you can see us on Facebook, Instagram, all of that. I don't need to say all of them. You know we're there. Guys, also follow this episode. Will be on the audio platform as of no later than an hour. I will get this on there. So, guys, you have no excuses. Go check these guys out. Listen to their awesome music. Also, Kris Keyes, he has his new album, Deception. If you haven't, go check that out. Like, man, there's so much growth. And more importantly, let's bring rock music back to that high note that they have been for so long. Let's bring it back. Guys, once again, I want to thank y'all for doing this. This was an absolute pleasure. I want to apologize again on the timing. That was on me. But guys, thank y'all. This has been another great episode of Buzzing with Marlowe, and we hope everyone has a great, great night. Have a good one, guys.
Thank you, Warren. Appreciate it. Guys, see you soon.
Cool.
We're going to rock the house.
Definitely, man.
Remember, July 5th, guys.